Was it you or I who stumbled first? It does not matter. The one of us who finds the strength to get up first must help the other. Eilistraee is the goddess of redemption, of beauty, of dance, of freedom, hunting, moonlight, song, and sword work. She is also known as the Dark Maiden, the Dark Dancer, the Dancing Goddess, Lady of the Dance, Lady Silverhair, and among the other elvish gods as Dark Fire of Love. Though she ranks among the gods of the Drow, Eilistraee is a pariah among her people. Therefore, she is more aligned with the forces of raw nature than with the Dark Seldarine. For while she seeks the redemption of the fallen Dark Elves, she also holds a broad appeal to any mortal who seeks exultant, moonlit freedom in service to a deity who truly understands what it means to be an outsider. Eilistraee manifests in the midst of awe-inspiring dance, among secret glades lit by the gentle glow of moonlight orbs that twirl around her. She appears as a graceful, powerful, 9-foot-tall Drow woman of expressive countenance and delicate features. Her obsidian form is undressed but for her bright silvery hair, reaching down from shoulder to ankle, covering where it is needed without objectification or modesty. She exudes motherly kindness and sisterly accord, feminine power and dignity without presumption. Her voice is musical and alluring, by way of clearing the mind rather than by confusing or disturbing it. To witness her is to be brought to tears, suffused in a kindred empathy that offers acceptance without expectation, as the soul comes home to find love. Beside her twin brother Veyron, Eilistraee is the daughter of Corlin Lorethian, the creator of the elves, and of Aroshni the Weaver, his queen. In time, the Weaver grew resentful of her husband's control over the elves, and preying upon her daughter's desire to please her mother, the Weaver had the dancing goddess brew a powerful poison, claiming it was to coat the arrows of her bodyguards. Thereafter, Aroshni and Veyron conspired to whisper in Eilistraee's ear of a magic scabbard, regal and bright, as befitting the countenance of the elvish patron. Gladly the young goddess quested and sought out this gift to please her father, unaware of the terrible curse it carried, such that its wielder would be defeated in battle. By the time her daughter returned, Aroshni had arranged a coalition of demons and dark gods to attack the elvish realm of Arvandor. Eilistraee's keen eyes first sighted the approaching horde, and so proudly she stood beside her father in battle, until that which lurks, Gornador, the dark god of abominations, joined the battle, and Corellon's heart sank, for he realized in that moment that for such an evil to enter his realm, another being of great darkness must have invited it in, and the only one with such power was his queen, and lover, the Weaver herself. As the elvish patron hesitated and dropped his guard, a god of ogres rushed towards him, and Eilistraee loosed an arrow in his defence. But the magic of the cursed scabbard changed the flight of her missile to strike her father square in the chest. High above the battle, the elvish goddess Eilistraee witnessed the arrow strike home, and perceiving an act of attempted patricide, she lashed out to protect Corellon, swiftly incapacitating the Dark Maiden. Meanwhile, Eilistraee rushed to her husband's side, producing the poison brewed by her daughter to finish him off, while attempting to pass it off as a healing elixir. Only the intervention of Saturnine Moonbow, the elvish moon goddess, prevented the death of Corellon on that bloody battlefield. For since learning of the plot, the daughter of the night skies had been imprisoned by the Weaver, until she escaped just in time to merge with the goddesses Eilistraee and Hanali Selanil, to become the triune goddess Angarad, exposing the deceivers and passing judgment upon them. In the aftermath of the battle, Corellon banished the gods of the Dark Seldarine from Arvandor, and they fled from the wrath of the Creator and of the triune goddess to lick their wounds and to plot revenge. And though Eilistraee had been cleared of guilt in the attempted insurrection, she nobly stood up to claim responsibility for her role in what, but for the smallest twist of fate, would have meant her father's death. And thus, the Dark Dancer chose exile beside the rest of the Dark Seldarine. In time, Eilistraee took up the name of Lolth, the Spider Queen, and as her influence grew, combined with that of the fetid Gornador, her people became the Drow, hiding away from the bright sun deep beneath the earth. But the Dark Dancer had foreseen this, for she had faith in redemption, and she believed that her mother's tyranny, born of treachery, would end in treachery, and when that day would come, when the Weaver's webs unwound, her people would need a guiding light to lead them up from the darkness, back to heal the wounds of past wrongdoings. Today, Eilistraee continues her struggle for the hearts of her people against the Dark Seldarine, to show them that a different path exists, and to encourage their return to the surface world. But the moves of that deadly game are too numerous to list in this narrative alone. But beside her ambitions for the Drow, she also encourages all of her followers to find their own paths through life, to which end she aims to support their journeys, whether through inspiration conveyed in dreams and in visions by a shadowy figure dancing beside them, or by the lending of her magic to break shackles. And she may also, at times, send a dancing moonbeam or a silvery radiance to help the lost find their way, while the distant sound of her hunting horn sounds as a rallying cry. And finally, her displeasure is shown through a chill breeze, a lack of inspiration, or a fruitless hunt. Caught in a web of political maneuvering, Eilistraee maintains relationships with multiple pantheons. Among the Dark Seldarine, she works against her mother's evil, while the Spider Queen, for her part, seeks to erase all knowledge of her daughter's existence from the minds of the Drow. The Dark Maiden's relationship with her twin brother Veyron is complex and shifting, for rather than hate him, she pities his single-minded dedication to the acquisition of power, while he, for his part, is willing to work beside his sister or against her if either serves his aims. Regarding Veyron's son, Selvatam, the god of Drow warriors, Eilistraee feels a great sadness, for she was once close with her nephew, and led him towards goodness, before Lolth lured the young god down a path of descent, leading to his fanatical devotion to the Spider Queen. While with Gornador and Kiaransali, the Banshee Queen, no love is lost between the warring gods. Among the Seldarine, Eilistraee is diplomatic and polite to all of her former kin, but is close only with Erevan Eilistraee, the elvish god of mischief, who relishes at any chance to aid her. But to Shevarash, the elvish god of vengeance who despises the Drow, she has never achieved more than an uneasy truce. Her closest friend is Mystra, the goddess of magic, and she is allied with Selune the moon, Luru, the goddess of intelligent beasts, and Mialiki, the forest queen, as well as Haela Brightaxe, the dwarven goddess of joy in battle, and Caladuran Smoothhands, the patron of the deep gnomes. Among her many foes, the Dark Maiden counts the evil gods of the Underdark, including the grey dwarven gods of Deep Duera, the Lord of Conquest, and Ladaguer, the god of artisans. Additionally, she fights against Blibdulpulp, the goddess of evil undersea creatures, as well as Dirinka, the Darrow god of magic, with Great Mother, the matron of the beholders, Ilsanine, the god of mind flayers, and Leogzed, the troglodyte god of hunger. Whilst on the surface world, she struggles against Malar, the bloodthirsty god of the hunt. Eilistraee moves between several domains, including her home on the realm of Svartalsheim, in the Drow domain of Nidavellir, on the third layer of the plain of Isgard. It is an underground realm of glittering gems and of hot springs, where benevolent Drow of the Underdark shall find their afterlife. She also maintains her former abode in Arvendor on the first layer of Arborea, which is a small realm of eternal night, lit by the moon and protected against the Dark Seldarine as an afterlife for the surface-dwelling Drow. She also keeps a hideaway within Lolth's realm of the Demon Web Pits, located on the 66th layer of the Abyss. This place is useful to spy on her mother, or to hide in plain sight. In self-imposed penance for nearly slaying her father with an arrow, Eilistraee avoids the use of ranged weapons and wields swords beside magic exclusively. As a goddess of artistic skill, her music, her song, her dance, and her acrobatic skills may move an audience to tears, inspire brilliance, or stun her enemies. Indeed, through performance she may inspire any emotion, even among those incapable of feeling. She wields a unique form of magic known as spell song, which is capable of harming, of protecting, of healing, or of creating. It also allows her to listen to faraway music, sung in distant lands under the light of the moon, and to travel to such places along beams of moonlight. She possesses true sight, allowing her to see through illusions and to reveal a subject's true nature. She is also a master of magic, favouring spells of the enchantment school, as well as those that affect plants and animals, that heal or that create. She may turn spells back against their casters at will, and she may quickly regenerate lost limbs, and her music repels undead, as well as causing doors, shackles, cages, and locks to fly open. She is also aware of any threat posed to her followers, to good-aligned Drow or to those considering rejecting the Dark Seldarine, but only if the event affects 500 people or more. Eilistraee is a lesser deity, and her chaotic good alignment represents her willingness to reject social norms and to work outside of the system. She typically grants her clerics the nature, the twilight, the light, or the life domain, and they will turn and destroy undead. Her chosen weapon is a bright dancing blade known as Moonsword, while her divine casters all train in the longsword. Her holy time is the night, and her casters pray for spells through song after moonrise, sometimes incorporating joyous bouts of dancing or moonlit hunts into their praise, often while wearing as little as possible. Her followers are known as Eilistraee, and they promote cooperation between all races, sexes, and genders, as well as broadly opposing slavery, war, and cruelty. They revere and distinguish between 6 different types of love. The first is passion and dedication, which they call Nor. The second is deep and unselfish love, named Eilistraee. Then longing, named Sinserig. Noble sacrifice, called Luragath. Love-making, which is named Ragath to the Drow, and Arklavai to surface elves. And finally, loyalty to one's own family and kin, which is called Imaya. Eilistraean worship promotes altruism, and all followers of the dancing goddess are expected to help people in need, as long as they are not presently engaged in evil acts. To this end, many patrol the wilds. The creation of art also forms a major part of their worship, for art leads to happiness and the expression of one's true self. And likewise, the preparation and the sharing of food forms a central tenet of their worship, as it represents a fundamental need that is shared by all living beings. And thus they will feed the hungry and gleefully explore new culinary horizons, as well as All gatherings of the faithful will therefore inevitably turn into grand feasts. Regarding the acquisition of wealth, Eilistraeans consider it crass to spend large amounts of money on themselves, except as it relates to weapons, armor, musical instruments, and other essential goods. As for accepting payment, no reward should be more than a single item, tool, weapon, or piece of armor that may be used for a practical end. When conflict arises, they seek to deal with it swiftly, before violence may spread, and the bodies of evil enemies are burnt, unless they are non-sentient and edible, in which case they may be used to feed the hungry. Few acts they consider more abhorrent than slavery, with even prisoners of war being given the freedom to express themselves, to have their grievances heard, and even to earn a living, even if they are not free to leave. The most common Eilistraean rite is a daily ceremony known as Evensong, for the release of emotions built up throughout the day. It is a solitary time of silent meditation, during which Eilistraee herself is said to listen to her faithful and to relieve distress. A common group rite is known as the Circle of Song, taking place in a woodland area and on a moonlit night. It involves a hunt for food followed by a feast and then a ritual circle where all present shall dance in turn. It is traditionally performed unclothed, including the preceding hunt, but not all modern gatherings keep to the old ways. A more dangerous variant of this rite, known as the High Hunt, is held once a season. It is the ritual hunting of a dangerous creature that threatens a nearby settlement, and is led by clerics of Eilistraee who wear as little as possible. Tradition allows other participants to wear armor, but they must limit themselves to bladed weapons for the hunt. A successful kill is followed by a ritual dance. The Run is a rite that is undertaken but once a year, whereupon groups of Eilistraeans will travel across the surface world for the purpose of engaging with strangers whom they would normally never meet, not to preach their faith, but to offer services and to share their culture, to promote understanding and tolerance, as well as to learn new songs, new recipes, and to broaden their own horizons. The expedition traditionally takes a month and a half to complete, but it has been known to last the whole year in some cases. The Sword Dance is a solo performance undertaken when an Eilistraean forges or acquires a new sword. The blade is planted in the dirt, point down, and then circled in dance, with a drop of blood drawn from each of the dancer's limbs by briefly moving against the blade's edge. If it pleases the goddess, the sword may sometimes gain a moon-touched enchantment for 3 months, resisting rust, glowing with a pale light, and being able to harm magical beasts. The Love Binding is the Eilistraean version of marriage, occurring when 2 lovers of any race or gender ask a female cleric of Eilistraee for the service, which she may not refuse to give. During the preparation phase of the rite, the priestess's eyes will glow silver in a state known as moon-eyed, and she will ask the couple to reveal their true natures to one another. After a meaningful conversation, the couple disrobes and platonically embraces, before joining in a dance led by the priestess. If either party wishes to deceive the other, the goddess shall know and direct the priestess to refuse the marriage. Otherwise, the celebration phase may begin at an Eilistraean holy site, with no less than one true follower and one outsider present as witnesses. The lovers and the priestess will wear only flowing robes and shall be barefoot. When moonlight touches the site, the priestess undresses and begins to radiate soft light, known as moon glow. She asks the goddess to watch over the binding, and for all attendees to witness the union of love. The lovers then drink sweet wine from a specially made bowl known as a loving cup that allows them both to drink at the same time while facing one another. They kiss, and their robes disappear as the Dark Lady covers them in moon glow. They join hands and ask for a blessing from Eilistraee with all of their hearts. And then, with a celebratory clap from the witnesses, they are love-bound together. The priestess begins to sing a joyous song that continues independent of her chanting, allowing her to layer many melodies into it, while the love-bound are brought into a group dance, and the moon glow gradually extends to all present. The rite shall continue until dawn or until the song ends, and all the while, a circle of warriors with drawn swords protects the enclave from intruders. Finally, a quite unique Eilistraean ritual is known as the Change Dance, which is in fact two distinct performances. The first of which transforms a person's sex from male to female, and the second from female to male. It is offered up freely to anyone who wishes to use it, or indeed to reverse it if they are not satisfied with the change. Female clerics of Eilistraee are known as Dark Ladies, while their male counterparts are known as Reverend. In times past, the clergy were exclusively female, but seeking equality between the sexes, membership was gradually opened up, with the caveat that in order to be ordained, one must have undergone the change dance at least once, so as to better understand how the other side lives. Their favoured multi-class is Bard, Ranger, or Fighter, and the clergy are expected to use swords wherever possible, with other bladed weapons as backup and longbows as a secondary weapon. Most of the priesthood are Drow, but there are also a great many half-elves and half-Drow, as well as some humans and elves, though members of all other races are welcome. Their ranks also include a few good-aligned lycanthropes, and they work closely with the Harpers, with many Eilistraeans enjoying dual membership between the two orders. Their clerical vestments are pale, delicate robes that are adorned with silver or with mithril. And when they desire more practical garb, they don soft, flexible leather armor, and for rituals they will wear as little as possible. Dark Ladies and Reverend practice a daily ritual known as flame song, which is a variant on evensong. It serves the same purpose of releasing the day's emotions, but it also adds a candle to the ritual, around which they shall dance while singing until the flame is extinguished. And thus shrines to the Dark Maiden are nightly filled with eerily beautiful melodies as the clergy practice their flame song. And finally, when an Eilistraean cleric who does not die in battle reaches their final days, they are granted a rite known as the Last Dance, whereupon the goddess herself will dance for them. And when the cleric feels ready, they shall disrobe and dance with her, gradually taking on a youthful appearance as their hair shines with the same luminous radiance as their goddess. Slowly, the pair fade into a silvery radiance, until only their voices remain joined in harmonious song, before dissipating at last. Apprentice clergy are known as maids, regardless of their gender. Outside of this, they have very few formal hierarchies or strict naming conventions. However, some temples may adopt titles to represent the roles, skills, and accomplishments of individuals, such as Moon Dancer, Moon Singer, Dark Huntress, Argent Maid, Living Sword, Unsheathed Blade, Swordsmith, Bright Edge of Darkness, and Ghost of the Moonstruck Night. While above all others, there is a single high cleric that watches over the entire faith from the promenade of the Dark Maiden beneath Waterdeep. Outside of her scattered worship across the Underdark, Eilistraeans are most likely to be found in Cormanthor, in the Dale Lands, in Mistra's chosen city of Silvery Moon, within the secret Drow enclave of Caladay in the north, and both in Waterdeep and within Skullport, the subterranean city in the dungeonous maze known as Undermountain, deep below Waterdeep. Eilistraean temples and shrines are rare, but thanks to the Dark Dancer's popularity among certain scholars, we have a sound account of her known holy sites. The headquarters of Eilistraean worship is known as the Promenade of the Dark Maiden near Skullport. It offers access to the Underdark as well as portals reaching to many other places across Faerun. One such portal leads to the Dark Maiden's Leap within the High Forest, where a sacred stone altar bears the footprint of the goddess, and another portal leads to her realm in Arvendor. The Shadowtop Glade is a shrine in Velarswood, in Harrowdale within the Dale Lands, which maintains good relations with nearby human settlements. Many other shrines are simply named after their locations, such as the Chondlewood Shrine in the Great Forest bordering the Vilhon Reach, or the Forest of Shadows Shrine in the woods that are also known as Shilmista, bordering Arm and Tethir. The Forest of Tethir Shrine is found within the woods sometimes known as Wheeldath, while the Misty Forest Shrine is west of the High Moor within the Western Heartlands, and the Ewerwood Shrine can be found in Aglarond. The Dancing Dell is located in the Ardeep Forest, also known as the Faraway Forest, near Waterdeep, and it surrounds the Lady Stone, a monolith of the Dark Maiden that she has been known to manifest beside to dance with her followers. The Tower of the Dark Moon in Shadowdale was once her greatest shrine, until it was conquered by the Drow of Cormanthor, who renamed it the Twisted Tower. The Wildwind's Coven can be found in the High Forest, while the Grey Forest Shrine is located between the Vast and Impeltur in the woods sometimes known as the Surlar Forest, while the Forest of Lethia Shrine within the Great Dale features a black rock pillar so carved that the wind rushing across its surface creates the sound of several flutes blowing at once. The Dancing Haven is a shrine in the North Ward of Waterdeep, while the Lake Semba Shrine lies just across the waters from the elvish community of Semberholm in Cormanthor. The Mouth of Song is located in a cave within the Moonwood, north of Silvery Moon. The Dark Dancer Shrine is found in Raven's Bluff within the Vast. And finally, there is an Eilistraean community within the largely abandoned Drow city of Lithmyathar beneath Icewind Dale, where a fragile truce exists between the followers of Lolth and the followers of the Dark Maiden. The Dark Dancer sponsors several formal holy orders, such as the Sword Dancers, who specialize in an acrobatic martial style resembling a dance, and who lead missions to assist Drow escaping the tyranny of the Dark Seldarine. The Silverhair Knights follow a similar mission, but they utterly embrace the Eilistraean teachings of mercy, and thus they limit themselves to non-lethal methods in their battles against the Drow, seeking to lead them to the light through example. The Dark Song Knights are an elite order who dwell beneath the forests of Amtar within the Shah, near the site of the ancient elvish realm of Ilithir, where the Dark Elves once lived long before their fall. These warriors hunt the demonic minions of Lolth. And finally, the Protectors of the Song are the temple guards of the Promenade of the Dark Maiden, who guard the pit of Gornador against the re-emergence of the slime god from inky subterranean depths. In my world, it all began with the death of Lolth at the hands of her own Pantheon. And soon thereafter, the Drow came to be presumed extinct following the collapse of all Underdark civilizations. But rather than aid their cousins underground, the surface-dwelling elves, they saw fit to abandon the material plane completely, and soon their language and their religions were no more than the fascination of archaeologists. Even tales speaking of Eilistraee were relegated to the realm of fairy stories, told to explain away eerie lights in the forest as magical moonglow upon deep-wood glades. But the children of Lolth emerged from their subterranean realm, and today, as the servants of the old gods gird themselves to do battle against the merciless Drow invasion, the promise of Eilistraee takes on a higher meaning. For surely, none but her may know of the terrible secret that drives the blood-soaked return of the Dark Elves to the pages of history. For, in the aftermath of their queen's demise, the tyrannical matriarchy of Dark Elf society faced a revolution by the underclass of male warriors serving Selvatam and the assassins of Veyron, who turned their blades swiftly upon the newly powerless priestesses of Lolth. A maelstrom of death occurred that escalated beyond repair as Kiarunsali offered shelter to female Drow from the genocide, only to transform the refugees into undead revenants under her control. Now, unbeknownst to human lands, the Drow are a dying race, with women all but extinct, and their long-held notions of racial purity are too deeply embedded to embrace their half-Drow progeny. Therefore, the aims of conquest have become twofold. First, to find other means towards immortality, or else to drown the world in blood as a final thrashing act against impotence. Now, today, whatever moonlight dappled glades still conceal the worshippers of the Dark Maiden must surely give up their secrets for the promise of redemption, and a path back to the light becomes more necessary than history has ever seen, for the sake of the whole world and all life within it. Though she extols freedom, the Dark Dancer lays out the following commandments to her followers: that one should be kind at all times, except when locked in battle against evil; to promote happiness, for joy to flourish in all lands, like the sprouting of flowers in spring; to teach the arts of song and of dance, as well as the dance of skilled swordsmanship; to foster harmony and cooperation between all of the races of Faerun; to help those who need it, providing shelter to the homeless, food to the hungry, and friendship to those who have strayed far from their homes. One should defeat rudeness by kindness, but violence must be repaid with violence, swiftly done to cut off the source of wickedness. And finally, one should offer kindness and aid to Drow in distress, and speak to them thusly: a rightful place awaits you in the realms above, in the land of the great light. Come in peace, and live beneath the sun, where trees and flowers grow.